For the New Year's Eve dinner, my stepbrother brought his beautiful girlfriend home. Taking the opportunity, my parents urged me to find a partner. My soon-to-be sister-in-law placed a piece of fatty braised pork into my bowl and gossiped, I heard. Xia Xia has an unforgettable first love? I buried my head in my meal, unsure how to tell her. My first love was her boyfriend. At 18, my stepbrother, Ethan, behind our parents' backs, coaxed me into tasting forbidden fruit. Even now, his leg under the table was intimately caressing my ankle. But his hand on the table was intertwined with his girlfriend's, as he jokingly teased, "You'll be 28 after the new year. You're not as pretty as your sister-in-law, and you'll be even less desirable when you're older." I stood up abruptly. Looking down, my voice was calm. "Actually, I'm already married, brother." 1. Originally, I wasn't planning on coming back home for the new year this year. But my mom lied, claiming she had coronary heart disease, and tricked me into coming home. At the New Year's Eve dinner table, she scolded me. "You always use being busy at work as an excuse. You haven't been home in 3 years. I'm afraid you don't even remember what your family looks like anymore." My stepbrother, Ethan, lifted his eyelids and glanced at me indifferently, scoffing in a way that implied more than he said. "Not coming back, is it because there's someone at home she doesn't want to see?" The fact that Ethan and I didn't get along was obvious. At the wedding where my mom married his dad, we were the flower children. During the entrance, he deliberately stepped on my dress, causing me to fall in front of everyone, thoroughly embarrassing myself. Ethan was scolded by his father for a long time. Not only did he not change, but he intensified his behavior, playing all sorts of pranks on me when the adults weren't home. I was mild-mannered and knew that my mom's marriage was a step up for her, so I never resisted, letting him vent his frustrations. For a long time, I walked on thin ice in my new home. It wasn't until after that incident that I suffered a severe blow and became a little tougher in front of Ethan. It's good to know in your own heart, why say it and make everyone unhappy? I didn't save face for Ethan. "That's right," my stepfather glared at him, "if you can't speak properly, then shut up." To be fair, although my mom was unreliable, couldn't make money, and was terribly stupid, she looked good and had a good eye for men. Whether it was my dad, who died unexpectedly, or my stepfather, who she remarried, they were both good men who loved their wives and took care of their families. The atmosphere was tense. At this critical moment, my soon-to-be sister-in-law, Claire, broke the ice with a smile. "Ethan also cares about his sister." Once, when he was drunk and asleep, he kept muttering Xia Xia's name. "Sigh, don't look at them bickering, they've gotten through so many years." My mom held Claire's hand, her eyes filled with relief. "With you by Ethan's side, his dad and I are relieved. According to our wishes, after the new year, the two families will meet, hold an engagement party first, and then properly arrange the wedding." Claire lowered her head shyly. "I'll listen to Uncle and Auntie." But Ethan frowned. "No rush, I have to fly to America after the new year to discuss a project. We'll talk about the engagement later." After all, he wasn't her biological son, so my mom didn't dare to express too many opinions about his affairs. She turned the topic to me. "It's just Xia Xia, she's not young anymore. Not to mention getting married, she hasn't even been in love." Claire lowered her eyes, concealing a flash of coldness in their depths. She put a piece of braised pork in my bowl and asked with a smile, "Oh? Xia Xia and I went to the same university. How come I heard she has an unforgettable first love?" My mom was shocked. "Summer, when did you start dating behind my back? Hurry up and confess." Claire was sitting next to me, leaning close affectionately, shaking my arm with a gossipy expression. "Oh, Xia Xia, don't be shy. It's all in the past anyway, just chat with us about it. There's nothing to talk about." I buried my head and took a few bites of rice, my voice muffled. Was I supposed to tell her that my first love was the boyfriend she was so eager to marry? 2. In the second year that Ethan started targeting me, he suddenly changed his ways. He applied to the teacher to change seats and became my deskmate. He was severely lopsided in his studies and threatened me to tutor him. My dad said that if I improved 20 places in the class by the end of the semester, he'll buy me a car. "If you help me improve my grades, I'll get along well with you and your mom in the future." I agreed without much thought, looking directly into his eyes for the first time. "Then? You have to study hard. I'll supervise you." Ethan had good looks that attracted romance, and his eyes curved when he smiled. "Got it, sis." I hurriedly looked away. The days quietly passed. Class after class, walking home together. Ethan and I gradually became familiar with each other. Occasionally, he would go play basketball after school, but I wouldn't allow it. Then, he would soften his voice and say nice things. "Good sis, for the sake of my consistently good study attitude, just give me a day off." I blushed secretly, unable to say no. Once, I got my period and stained my pants. Without a word, Ethan took off his jacket and tied it around my waist. Then, he went to the convenience store to buy sanitary napkins and brown sugar. The teenager's ears were red, and he complained to me gruffly. Xiaozhe saw me when I was paying, and his laughter almost lifted the roof. This is something your brother bought back at the cost of his dignity. You have to finish drinking it. Xiaozhe was his mortal enemy, also a good-for-nothing playboy whose grades were even worse than his. That afternoon, Ethan went to play basketball, and I was blocked in the classroom by Xiaozhe. He pinched my chin and asked in a slacker manner. Academic genius, how about tutoring me too? I shook my head. I want to go home. My brother is still waiting for me. Cut it out, who doesn't know that you guys have no blood relation at all? I think you're more like Ethan's little wife. Before he finished speaking, someone pushed the door open and threw the basketball in his hand forcefully. Ethan's face was so cold that it could freeze. Get out. Xiaozhe barely dodged it and sneered. What are you pretending for? I saw you stepping on her dress at the wedding last year. Is it too late to act like loving siblings now? None of your business. Ethan put me in his arms, his tone warning. Only I can bully her, no one else. After Xiaozhe left, Ethan was amused by my stunned expression. Scared silly? He suddenly leaned down, his eyes deepening inch by inch. Has anyone ever told you that your lips look very kissable? 3. Ethan and I began a secret relationship. With my help, his grades improved by leaps and bounds, and he successfully received the card that his stepfather rewarded him with. Whenever someone joked, "You two are always together, could it be that you've fallen in love with Summer?" Ethan would always laugh and curse, "Cut it out, she's my sister. If I liked her, wouldn't I be less than human?" I felt a little uncomfortable. Clearly, in private, he would pin me against the wall, kissing me again and again. The sweet words he spoke made my heart race and my face flush. But during the day, in the eyes of my parents and classmates, we were just step-siblings from a blended family. Nothing more than that. After the college entrance exam, Ethan took me to a hotel, saying he wanted to give me a gift. I opened the box with anticipation, but it was a white lace bunny girl outfit. Ethan coaxed me as he kissed me. Put it on, Summer. It's custom-made according to your size. You're so beautiful, you'll look even better in it. I prepared myself for a long time before putting on this scant piece of clothing. The exposed skin trembled in bursts, and I asked him, when are we going to go public? Ethan's slender fingers roamed over my body, responding vaguely. Soon. He chuckled softly, a bunny suits you very well. Call me brother and let me hear it. My face flushed crimson. Turn off the lights. He refused, pinching my waist with his large hand. Summer, I want to see you. He had a lot of stamina, and I was sore and tired, but I still let him continue. We went crazy on the hotel bed until 5 in the morning, used condoms and torn clothes scattered on the floor, a mess. Before passing out, I kissed the palm of his hand and confessed in a daze. Ethan, I really like you so much. The next day, I was woken up by the sound of a phone call. Ethan's voice was like ethereal smoke, seeping into my ears. Her mom seduced my dad, she's a cheap slut. She's no better. I just beckoned, and she climbed into my bed. I almost thought it was a hallucination, got out of bed, and walked closer step by step. He leaned on the balcony, hands-free was on. I heard Xiaozhe teasing him on the other end. Yo, who was the one protecting her back then? Ethan sneered, it was just a means of retaliating against her. Her real dad died early, and girls from single-parent families are all love-starved. She was so touched just by me making her some brown sugar water. Xiaozhe laughed loudly. Okay, then when you're tired of her, lend her to me for a couple of days. I'd like to try. Is her waist really as soft and makes people want to die as you said? Sure. Ethan seemed to sense something and turned his head, meeting my pale face. He raised his eyebrows and helped tuck the messy bangs behind my ear. Heard everything? I blinked, tears streaming down my face. Why did you? Ethan blew air on my face maliciously. Then get lost, brother is tired of you. 4. Alright, they say first love is like the white moonlight, can't you let people cherish it? Ethan chuckled, his eyebrows relaxed, seeming somewhat smug. What was that saying again? Even if siblings quarrel, they still have to go home together for the new year. It was now coming true for us, how ironic. Claire's face instantly turned unsightly. She pointed to the piece of fatty meat she had given me. Why don't you eat it? Is Xia dissatisfied with me as a sister-in-law? I never eat fatty meat. Under the table, a leg stretched over, caressing my ankle not too lightly or heavily. Eat it, Summer. Ethan held his girlfriend's hand, interlocking his fingers with hers, full of comfort. It's your sister-in-law's first time at our house, don't make her unhappy. My stepfather was about to speak when my mom interrupted him. That's right, listen to your brother, eating a piece of fatty meat won't kill you. I kept a cold face and didn't move. Claire acted spoiled. It's my fault, I shouldn't have put food in Xia Xia's bowl. Still so rude. Ethan curled his lips, his actions under the table becoming more and more ambiguous. You'll be 28 after the new year. You're not as pretty as your sister-in-law, and you'll be even less desirable when you're older. My nails dug into the palm of my hand, and the next second, I suddenly stood up. Actually, I'm already married, brother. Oh? Ethan found it absurd and chuckled. Summer, I know you're anxious because you saw me bring my girlfriend home. But there's no need to lie. Do you want me to show you my marriage certificate? I looked down at him, my voice calm. You know my husband too, his name is Xiaozhe. My mom and stepfather were both taken aback. Summer, are you telling the truth? You're married, to the only son of that Xiao group? Can you at least make a draft before you lie? Ethan glanced at me, his face full of contempt. With no family background and no career, why would Xiaozhe take a fancy to you? Since Xiaozhe officially took control of the family business and introduced advanced algorithm technology from abroad, the Xiao group has become a leading presence in the country. Not to mention that my mom remarried into the He family. Even if I were Ethan's biological sister, I wouldn't be qualified to have a relationship with Xiaozhe. Claire chimed in, those who build a business to the point of Xiao's family, how can any of them have freedom to love? 99% of them have to have a business marriage. She laughed, I know you want to latch onto a rich family, but you can't just talk nonsense, can you? Claire's words were getting sharper and sharper, almost pointing her finger at me and calling me a gold digger. But those present, my family, none of them spoke up to defend me. I sighed almost inaudibly. He refused a family-arranged marriage for me. 5. At that time, Xiaozhe and his father were in a very tense relationship. I was open-minded and advised Xiaozhe that it was okay to break up peacefully, there was no need to make a big fuss for me. He held the back of my head and kissed me urgently and fiercely, with a touch of punishment. Who the hell wants to break up with you? None of those women can compare to you, especially in bed. I glared at him, but the next second my eyes were covered by a large hand. Don't look at me like that, Summer, you know I'm not a man with good self-control. He sighed, his tone tinged with a bit of helplessness. You little ungrateful thing are so open-minded, but I'm really worried about you. When I'm dating you, I'm always afraid you'll run away, so it's safer to get a marriage certificate. What a joke. Ethan tapped his fingers lightly on the table, a sign of his impatience. If Xiaozhe really got married, how could there be no news of it on the outside? That's right. My stepfather also said, I know Xiaozhe's father, we even had a partnership in the early years. Logically speaking, if they were to hold a wedding, he would send our family an invitation. We are in a secret marriage. The smile on my lips was bitter. Why wasn't it public? I also asked Xiaozhe this question. Because you're not worthy, wife. His deep-set face was smiling, but the words he spoke were like a sharp blade stabbing into my heart. We're not a good match. If we go public, what will others think of me? There will inevitably be a lot of gossip in the company. Be good, we're the ones living the life, can't you feel how much I love you? So. His so-called love was just using a marriage certificate to tie me to his side. Don't keep guessing, Summer, take out your marriage certificate and show it to us, then we'll believe you. Finally, my mom spoke. All right. I reached into my pocket. Empty, nothing there. It belatedly occurred to me. The marriage certificate that I had worked so hard to steal had already been quietly taken back by Xiaozhe. Forget it. I suddenly felt physically and mentally exhausted. It was just a moment of temper, what was the point of arguing about this with them? Anyway, Xiaozhe and I were going to get a divorce. Just pretend I was lying. I'm full, I'm going to bed first. Closing the bedroom door, I faintly heard Claire lowering her voice behind me. Uncle and Auntie, you may not know this, but Summer has always been vain since she was in school. I'm a year older than her, and once, the teacher asked me to teach her how to do an experiment. I went to the bathroom for a moment, and she actually stole the necklace from my bag. It was the first gift Ethan ever gave me. Luckily, I caught her in the act. I hadn't had a good night's sleep in a long time. Turning off the bedside lamp, I curled up in a corner of the small bed, listening to the sound of firecrackers outside the window, and fell into a deep sleep. Ethan performed exceptionally well in the college entrance exam and went to the same key provincial university as me. Claire was a senior I met when I first went to university. I was introverted and didn't have many friends, she was an exception. Unfortunately, this friendship didn't last long, ending on the day she and Ethan officially announced their relationship. I don't know what Ethan said, but she actually treated me like a rival in love. One day during lunch break, she took the bank card with my living expenses from my pocket while I was asleep. In a moment of desperation, I rummaged through her bag to find the card. But she turned around and accused me of stealing her necklace. The password for that card was Ethan's birthday, and I hadn't had time to change it yet. As a result, all the money inside was squandered. I had no choice but to find a part-time job at a billiard hall outside of school. I didn't work there for long before I met Xiaozhe. Yo, academic genius, short on cash? I have a job here, do you want to do it? From then on, I became Xiaozhe's paid girlfriend, as a shield for him to deal with his family's urging for him to get married. 6. I was woken up by a sound of panting. My room didn't have good soundproofing, so I could hear everything clearly if the noise next door was a little louder. Claire's voice was soft enough to make water drip, shyly saying, "Isn't this bad? What if we disturb your sister?" I instantly realized that Ethan was doing it on purpose. Mom and Dad slept in the master bedroom on the first floor, and there were many empty rooms on the second and third floors. But they insisted on choosing the room next to mine. Sure enough, I heard his nonchalant tone. "If we disturb her, she can just deal with it. Is brother supposed to report to his sister before doing things that adults should do? Not to mention we're not even real siblings, I have even less reason to care about her. Baby, spread your legs a little wider." Easy. Claire said spoiledly, "I know her unforgettable first love is you." I deliberately made her uncomfortable when we were eating. After all, it's disgusting for a sister to have a crush on her brother. Ethan chuckled, "You're her sister-in-law, it's only right to teach her a lesson. Focus, baby, let's not talk about her." "Okay, don't bite me." Claire had a good voice. Soft and charming, as if she was deliberately calling out for me to hear. I swiped open my phone and found Xiaozhe's chat box. "Can't sleep. I sent it and then immediately retracted it. He directly made a video call. I hung up. He hurriedly typed, "Is Ethan bullying you again? Sent it to the wrong person. Who else do you want to send it to besides me?" Xiaozhe's possessiveness was terrifying. Even without being face to face, I could imagine his expression right now. His long and narrow eyes were cold, with a hint of a sneer at the corner of his lips. In a moment of distraction, he sent another message. "Don't get a divorce. Let's go public. I'll go over and support you, okay?" I wanted to say no. But before I could reply, there was a knock on the door. Ethan's white shirt was loosely hanging on his body, and there were a few bright red kiss marks on his collarbone. He leaned against the door frame with his arms crossed and explained to me lazily. "I used my hand, I didn't really give it to her." I looked alert. "What does it have to do with me?" He smiled. Closed the door and locked it. In the darkness, he slowly pressed towards me. "Summer, it's been several years since we've seen each other, right? I thought you'd never come back." I tried to remain calm. "No matter what, this is my home, you'll always be my brother." I was reminding him. But it only earned me a cold laugh from him. Calling me brother is useless. I just rejected her, guess why? I didn't answer. Ethan leaned close to my ear, the burning breath hitting my eardrum. "Because for the first time in the new year, I'd rather be with you." 7. As soon as he finished speaking, Ethan was slapped by me. My chest rose and fell, I gritted my teeth and used all my strength, hitting him so hard that my wrist went numb. "Your girlfriend is still here, do you have no shame? Tricking me once 10 years ago wasn't enough, and now you want to use the same trick again? Ethan, do you really think I have no temper?" The veins on Ethan's forehead twitched a couple of times, his face so gloomy that water could drip from it. "Fine, sister has become successful, you even dare to hit your brother." In the next instant, his eyes flashed, and he grabbed my hand. Rolling up my sleeve, there was a red mark on my porcelain white wrist. "What's this?" "Looks like it was strangled with a tie." He eagerly pulled open my clothes. Under the turtleneck sweater were dense hickey marks, and glaring bruises on my knees. I pulled open the quilt to wrap my body and slapped him again. "What are you doing?" Ethan turned his face from my slap, blood seeping from the corner of his mouth. "What are these marks?" He almost gnashed his teeth. "You're playing pretty wild, Summer." Tears welled up in my eyes, and I took a deep breath. "You all say I'm married, who else could have done it?" I had secretly run away from Zhao's villa. 2 months ago, late at night, Xiaozhe came back from a social engagement and wrapped his arms around my waist as usual. In the midst of sweet whispers, I said coldly, "Let's get a divorce, Xiaozhe." I couldn't remember exactly how Xiaozhe responded. But I paid a heavy price for those words. He locked me in a huge villa, tore off his tie to tie my wrists, and tormented me day and night, using this to force me to take back the idea of divorce. I took cold showers in the dead of winter, successfully sending myself to the hospital. Taking advantage of him going to the company during the day, I secretly escaped back home. "You're saying, Xiaozhe?" At this moment, the scales of trust in Ethan's heart finally tilted towards me. He took out his phone. "I have his number saved, I'll call him now." "Summer, you better not be lying." Xiaozhe answered quickly, "Hello?" Ethan spoke with a barbed tone, "You tell me the truth, did you marry my sister?" The air was silent for a moment, and I heard the man's chuckle on the other end. What's your sister's name again? Ethan glanced at me, his momentum weakening significantly. Summer. Oh, I think I have a vague impression, that academic genius from high school. She told you we were married? Yeah. Xiaozhe's tone was disdainful. If she has delusions, she should see a doctor. There are many women who want to marry me, let her line up first. He hung up the phone cleanly, as if saying another word would be an insult to his reputation. 8. Which dog man is it? Are you that horny? Ethan pressed closer step by step. I only had one sentence, believe it or not. Xiaozhe didn't admit it, and there was nothing I could do. Ethan was furious, rambling endlessly. Nothing more than words to humiliate me. He still hated me as much as he did 10 years ago. But I was no longer the silly Summer of 18 years old. Guessing that I had been upset at home, he drove over in the middle of the night to find me, using the method of slowly boiling a frog in warm water to make me gradually give up the idea of divorce. I pulled the curtains and went back into the room. I didn't sleep well this night. I dreamed of the first time I accompanied Xiaozhe to a banquet. He asked me to block drinks for him, doubling my salary. I got drunk, and the next day I woke up, my whole body aching as if it had been run over by a car. Xiaozhe was lying next to me with his chest bare, casually twirling a strand of my hair to play with. Ethan was right, it doesn't take much effort to trick you into bed. But your waist, is really soft. I shook my hand and wanted to slap him, but he restrained my wrist instead. I'm going to call the police and arrest you, I choked back tears. Xiaozhe kissed the back of my hand and laughed at my naivety. Adult men and women, getting carried away after drinking, no police would accept it. But there's one thing about me that's far better than Ethan, and that's that I dare to take responsibility. Be my girlfriend, I'll be responsible for you. 9. I didn't get up until late in the morning, and when I woke up, I felt energetic, as if I had made up for all the sleep I had lacked in this life. My parents took Ethan and Claire to visit Grandpa's house early in the morning to give New Year's greetings. The Rolls-Royce downstairs had also disappeared. Clicking on WeChat, I saw a message from Xiaozhe. I'm gone, a 6 a.m. flight to America. He was busy with work, and even on the first day of the Lunar New Year, he didn't have time to rest, flying all over the place. Xiaozhe was that kind of man. The sweet talk he said was better than anyone else, but when it came to serious matters, feelings always had to take a back seat. Summer, you're really heartless. He was the one who left, and he was also the one who complained. Have a smooth trip, I replied. He sent a voice message, his tone helpless but mixed with a bit of doting. If it weren't for you, your husband wouldn't have to work. Ethan is in talks with an American Fortune 500 company about a project. Knowing that you've been wronged, I went ahead of time to block it for him. I was a little touched, thank you. Just saying thank you. You don't lack anything. Xiaozhe's tone was casual, with a hint of a smile. I lack a wife who doesn't want a divorce. I unconsciously curled up the corners of my lips. Maybe if you send Ethan in, I'll change my mind. I thought about it and felt it was inappropriate, so I retracted it. Is that difficult? Xiaozhe had always been arrogant. He joined He's right after graduation, and became CEO at a young age. Do you think his hands are completely clean? He did those things to you before, even if you didn't mention it, I wouldn't let him go. I didn't reply. What I was thinking in my heart was, he's not a good thing, are you supposed to be? Perhaps because his business was stolen, Ethan had been wearing a gloomy face these days. Without him and Claire singing in harmony, the atmosphere at the dinner table was much quieter. After the 6th day of the Lunar New Year, I went back to work at Zhao's. After the wedding, Xiaozhe originally wanted me to be a full-time housewife at home. I didn't agree, and had a cold war with him for 3 days. He reluctantly arranged a position as a financial analyst for me in his own company. While I was feeling sleepy in front of the computer, someone came over aggressively and slammed a stack of documents on the table. I need to check all the company's financial transactions from last year. Please organize these as soon as possible and send them to me. I woke up suddenly. Claire? The woman smoothed her wavy hair and raised her chin. What? Are you surprised to see me? I'm a parachuted financial director, coming in based on my ability, unlike someone else. Her words were pointed, and the surrounding colleagues cast gossipy glances. I'll be your direct supervisor from now on. The company isn't a place to sleep. If you don't want to do it, get out early. At 7 o'clock in the evening, most of the workstations were empty. I rubbed my eyes and continued to tap on the keyboard, making forms. In the director's office, I saw Ethan's figure. He was there to pick up Claire from work. The two of them spoke in low voices, not knowing what they were talking about. Their expressions were both serious. Don't work anymore, go back and rest. Ethan came over and pinched my shoulders twice. Your sister-in-law isn't a bad person, she's just prone to jealousy. If someone passed by and saw the scene, they would probably exclaim what a loving pair of siblings they were. No, I need the report urgently. Claire stepped on 8 centimeter high heels, bossy and aggressive, her red lips almost touching my nose. She's getting paid, she's not here to freeload. She's not allowed to leave until she finishes. A bit of annoyance surfaced between Ethan's brows. That's enough, you've been targeting her since the new year, is it interesting? No matter what, she's still my sister. Claire suddenly raised her voice, it's because of who? Isn't it because you said she? Enough. Ethan glanced at me and interrupted her sternly. Director Zhao is making things difficult for the boss's wife, is it because she thinks she's been working at Zhao's for too long? 10. I don't know how long Xiaozhe had been standing there, or how much he had seen. He was neatly dressed in a suit, his face as cold as ice. He strode forward, coming to my side step by step, taking a protective stance. This is the last time. The man's aura was sharp, sweeping over Ethan and Claire in turn. Claire took 2 steps back, so frightened that she couldn't even speak properly. Boss's wife? What's the relationship between you two? I felt an instinctive fear when I saw Xiaozhe, and my body shrank back, wanting to escape. He easily grabbed my wrist, and the other hand wrapped around my waist, his posture strong and unyielding. Legally married. Throwing down those words, Xiaozhe didn't want to waste words with her. He turned around and took me away. Impossible, impossible. Ethan lost all his composure in an instant, shouting at our backs. You said you didn't know her before. You, Xiaozhe, are so high and mighty, how could you take a fancy to her? In the back seat of the Rolls-Royce, Xiaozhe pinched my cheek with one hand, gnashing his teeth. Summer, would it kill you to soften your attitude? After looking at each other for a long time, I sighed softly, admitting defeat. I'll go back with you, that's all. Good girl. Xiaozhe showed a satisfied smile. You have no other choice but to go home with me. I'll take revenge for you on Ethan's side. I had a flash of insight. Did you deliberately recruit Claire? He sneered, the two of them resented me for stealing the project and wanted to get revenge on me, so I'll help them out. Let's not talk about them, wife, do you know how much I've missed you? Xiaozhe stuck to me affectionately. I miss you too. Xiaozhe paused, looking me up and down with a playful expression. Wife, you're not being good. My heart tightened, what's wrong? He took off the brooch pinned to my coat and took out the pinhole camera inside. Did you want to record it and then accuse me of rape? The corners of Xiaozhe's lips turned up, but his eyes were ice cold. He tore off my clothes, his hands using force. What to do? I can't bear to let others see what my wife looks like without clothes on. Shameless, I bit out through gritted teeth. Xiaozhe pinched my chin and smiled coldly, there's something even more shameless. With that, he grabbed my neck and kissed me until I couldn't breathe. Xiaozhe had a strong desire, and every night he tormented me until I couldn't stand up straight. It had been a week since we had been separated. He raised the partition between the front and rear seats and did it once in the car. When we got home, he said he would give me a bath, and while he was washing, his hands started to misbehave again. I didn't fall asleep until almost dawn. The next day, under Xiaozhe's deliberate manipulation, news of my marriage to him spread throughout the city. I was the one who was foul-mouthed before. He held my hand and slapped his own mouth. There are no more well-matched couples than Summer and Xiaozhe. I'll make it up to you with a grand wedding, Summer, we'll have a good life from now on. I didn't say yes or no. Nor did I refuse the slightly painful kiss he pressed on my collarbone. When my mom saw the news, she specifically called me, praising me joyfully. Well done, good daughter, you're better at marrying than your mother. In the future, you'll use the resources of the Xiao family well and help us with collaborations for He's, and also help your stepfather and your brother. I obediently agreed. A few days later, Ethan and Claire were wanted for forging confidential documents and stealing commercial secrets. The police froze all accounts under Ethan's name and took him away for investigation. Claire fled. 11. I made a special trip to see Ethan. If you're here to laugh at me, then you can get lost. He glared at me hatefully. I had never seen Ethan in such a dejected state. In just a few days, he had gone from a proud son of heaven to a prisoner. Here, for you. I handed him a worn-out little bear doll. It had been sewn many times with needle and thread, showing that the owner cherished it very much. Ethan glanced at it casually and sneered, "What is this?" "A new trick for you and Xiaozhe to make fun of people." I sighed, "You really forgot." Ethan held the doll in front of his eyes, his face changing several times. "Are you, the little girl who saved me when I was a child?" When Ethan was 6 years old, his biological mother was still very healthy. During the hottest time of summer, the family of 3 went to the countryside to escape the heat. The little boy was playful and accidentally slipped into the river while fishing. I happened to pass by and saw it, shouting for help, which attracted adults to pull him out. At that time, my parents were working hard in the city, and I was thrown to my grandmother's house, bored all day long. Ethan filled the void of a playmate. When playing house, he played the father, and I played the mother. The handsome little boy put his favorite little bear doll in my palm and said seriously. The TV series said that a life-saving grace should be repaid with one's body. Summer, I'll marry you when I grow up. Many years later, we became step-siblings. He didn't recognize me and even hated me to the bone. It's actually you, how is that possible? Past events intertwined, Ethan closed his eyes tightly, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly, as if enduring inner torment. After a long time, he opened his eyes, the corners of his eyes stained with a faint red. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Guilt, I always thought, if teasing me could make you feel better, I would gladly accept it. Compared to his remorse, my smile was calm, without waves or ripples. I said I liked you, brother. Ethan was in a daze for a moment. He remembered the night he first tasted the forbidden fruit, the girl in pain and tears. Expressing her feelings, saying she liked him very much. He was immersed in the joy of successful revenge and didn't take it to heart. Ethan covered his chest, as if an invisible hand had grabbed his heart, the pain making it impossible to breathe. Do you know why I married Xiaozhe? It's not greed for vanity, it's just because he can protect me. My voice was very soft. Brother, I was scared by you and your girlfriend. I'm sorry, Summer, I'm sorry. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot. I was too arrogant, I should have thought of it earlier. With Xiaozhe's power and status, wanting to marry someone, there was no room for refusal. I raised my hand to wipe away his tears. The cuffs slipped, inadvertently revealing the crisscrossing scars on my arm. Ethan grabbed my wrist. What's going on? It's nothing. I hissed softly, covering it up evasively. People always say that I married well, but in fact, I jumped from one fire pit into another. You perverted bastard. Ethan cursed angrily. Having laid the groundwork, I finally stated the purpose of this trip. During this time, you and Xiaozhe were at odds with each other. I know that you secretly collected some evidence of his illegal and criminal activities over the years. You want to bring him down? It's useless, the Xiao family's foundation is too deep. I looked at him, gentle and firm. Leave it to me, brother, I have a way. Ethan sighed softly, leaned closer, and whispered something in my ear. Getting up to leave, Ethan suddenly called out to me. Summer, I owe you too much. I didn't turn my head, and my steps didn't stop. It didn't matter anymore. After all, who would argue with a criminal who would spend the rest of his life in prison? I showed a genuine smile. 12. Even though Xiaozhe assigned 3 bodyguards to protect me closely, I was still kidnapped on the way back. Who would have thought that Claire would hide in a stall in the women's toilet? As soon as I came out after using it, she held a dagger to my neck. Summer, you went to find Ethan again, didn't you? You're a bitch who likes her own brother. Her hair was disheveled, and she looked a mess. Even now, she still loved Ethan. I didn't dare to act rashly, suppressed my wildly beating heart, and explained slowly. I only treat him as a brother, there's nothing between us. I don't believe your lies. You two have obviously slept together a long time ago. Claire, I don't believe you can't see it, I haven't had any feelings for Ethan for a long time. He's the one who's been pestering me relentlessly. I tried to appease her emotions. We have no grievances or enmities, the person you should hate the most is him. She raised the dagger high. He loves me. I'm willing to do anything for him. Go to hell. Go to hell. At the critical moment, a tall figure in a suit hugged me in his arms. Claire was pressed to the ground by the bodyguard, ranting helplessly. If it weren't for you, how could I have ended up in this situation? It's all your fault, Summer, I'm going to kill you. I heard the sound of a sharp blade stabbing into flesh and blood, and what I saw was a dazzling red. Xiaozhe groaned, his face pale. The hand that held my waist was even stronger. Summer, are you okay? I blankly met his anxious eyes. There were only 2 words in my mind. Serves you right. Silly, why are you crying? I'm not dead yet. Xiaozhe wiped away my tears, his lips becoming paler. Did I cry? Tears flowed even more fiercely. I sniffed and rummaged in a panic for my phone. I'll call 911 right away, we'll go to the hospital. Don't you have a private doctor? Call him over. Xiaozhe turned his head with difficulty and kissed my lips. You care about me? That's not easy. This was the only kiss between us that didn't involve lust. Crazy. His life was almost gone, and he still kissed. I wanted to curse him, but before I could open my mouth, he passed out. Xiaozhe was unconscious for 2 days and 1 night. Because of excessive blood loss, he was once sent to the ICU. I stayed by his side without leaving. His subordinates all lamented that President Xiao and his wife were really deeply in love. I smiled and said nothing. The next day, one quiet night. In the hospital room, in front of Xiaozhe's bed, I started a live broadcast. I held up my ID card with both hands, my eyes were red, and my face was pale. The sense of brokenness was full. But every word was sonorous and powerful. I am reporting, in my real name, that my husband, Xiao Zhe, the president of the Xiao Group, is suspected of rape, forced marriage, money laundering, bribery, and other crimes. Here are the evidences I've compiled. Please help me, don't let money become a shield for bad people. He must receive the punishment he deserves. The popularity of the live broadcast soared, and I released the recordings and documents one by one. The term Xiao Group President's Crimes quickly topped the hot search list and remained high. Xiao Zhe was wrong. The camera was just a decoy. From the beginning, I didn't intend to record a video. The recording pen I sewed deep into my pocket was the key to extracting evidence. 13. This is what you deserve. I said to the awakened Xiao Zhe, I just wanted a divorce. I didn't understand. When we got married, an ID card was enough. Now, to get a divorce, the marriage certificate, ID card, and household registration book were all indispensable. Not only did we have to make an appointment and queue up many days in advance, but there was also a 30-day cooling-off period. As long as Xiao Zhe didn't agree, I would always be his wife. Xiao Zhe lay in the hospital bed, his handsome and deep face surprisingly calm. Was it just that I humiliated you a few times? Do you have to hold such a grudge, Summer? Did I ever give you less in terms of food and clothing? He felt incredible. Leaving me, where are you going to find a second person who treats you so well? Yes, to be fair, Xiao Zhe treated me very well in terms of material things. He bought 2 houses in the city center, one close to my home and one near my company, both registered under my name. There was a large cloakroom on the 2nd floor of the Xiao family villa, and the clothes inside were all this season's new products from major brands. At the very back, an entire wall was covered with bags. But at the same time, Xiao Zhe's control over cash flow was extremely strict. He deposited 20,000 yuan into my card every month, enough to guarantee daily life, but not enough to save too much money. We also signed a prenuptial agreement. If we divorced, I wouldn't get a penny. Xiao Zhe always said that women get bad when they have money, and he wouldn't give me the chance to abandon him. Not even a little bit. Besides, the words said in bed are called foreplay, they can't be considered humiliation, right? The man whistled at me, utterly frivolous. This new leader of the Xiao family seemed to be fearless. The police were already at the door, and he was still in the mood to tease me. I retorted coldly, I don't like your so-called foreplay. Without respect, there is no love, only a plaything. Xiao Zhe, you just treated me like a plaything. I've been screwed by you in this lifetime. These were the last words Xiao Zhe said to me before being taken away by the police. I looked out the window, a vast expanse of white. It was snowing. Snowflakes fell from the sky, and I gently breathed out a sigh. Summer, you are free.